How you doing, Karmjot?
Hi, how are you? I'm
Excellent.
doing great.
So
Thanks
how
for
do you
asking.
pronounce your name?
My first name is pronounced Karmjot, and
Karmjot.
my last name is pronounced Randhawa.
Okay, Karmjot Randhawa.
Yes, that's
Okay,
right.
excellent. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and, give me a rundown.
Sure. So my name is Karmjot Randhawa, like I said.
Uh-huh.
I am the county director for UC Cooperative Extension,
Uh-huh.
and I cover the 4 counties in the San Joaquin Valley of Fresno, Madera, Tulare, and Kings counties. I've been in the position for a little bit over 3 years now.
Wow.
I'm originally from the Valley.
Yeah.
Grew up here, went to high school and college and
Is that right?
graduate school here. Yeah.
Good for you.
Then I moved to the East Coast for a while to do some more graduate studies.
Yeah.
And I moved back a few years after I was done with school, and I really am committed to the Valley, and this opportunity presented itself, and it just feels like everything led me to this opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like ag creates like 1 out of 3 jobs, something like that.
That's right.
Isn't
That's
it?
right.
Yeah.
Especially we are an ag community out here.
Oh,
Everybody
absolutely.
here either works within agriculture, their family works within agriculture.
Yeah.
We are the breadbasket of the world. We
Yeah.
we are the biggest economy. Our biggest export is our fruits and vegetables here.
Yeah.
So we have a huge commitment and a huge responsibility to our ag community to provide them support and research and expertise so that they can continue to be competitive at the world market.
Yeah. So your official title is
County director.
county director.
That's right.
Wow. And your territory is Madera, Kings County, and Tulare, or
At Fresno, Madera, Tulare, and Kings County.
Jeez.
So I've got 4 counties, yeah.
So you cover a lot of miles every
I
day.
do. I do. Today I was only in Madera and Fresno, but there's some days I go to all 4 counties.
Oh, I know. I've done that. I put, like I said, I put like 30,000 miles, a year on my car.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's
When I
impressive.
was, oh yeah, yeah, it was a lot of traveling around all the farmers and everything. You've got quite an academic history. Why don't you go ahead and
Sure. So, like I said, I grew up here. So I went to
Yeah.
elementary, middle school, high school here. I went to Fresno State and I received my bachelor's in research,
Right.
education, research, and psychology. And then I did my master's in research psychology here as well. Then I transitioned over to getting my MBA. So I moved out to Washington, D.C., and I got my MBA at Johns Hopkins University.
Yeah, that's big.
And following that, I continued. I said I would be done, but I wasn't done. So
Right.
then after that, while I was working at George Mason University, I had the opportunity to attend and do coursework at Yale. So I got a certification in climate change and health.
Yeah.
And I received a second one while during the pandemic and during my maternity leave, the itch came back. And so I went to Harvard and I completed coursework there as well.
Geez.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'm
how many years of academic? I mean, you must
A
have
lot.
like 10 years of continuing education.
I probably do. I think for me, it's when I'm passionate about something, I
Yeah.
see school as my outlet to learn
Yeah.
and to get the answers to my questions. And for me, coming from the Valley, I have asthma, which I'm sure quite a few people here do.
Yeah.
And our air quality is so poor.
Yeah.
And I see how we've had more wildfires, more extreme weather conditions. And I'm just wondering how that impacts our ag, our farmland, our community here.
Right.
And that led me to asking questions at work. And
Right.
I worked at the Center for Climate Change and Health. And so I decided to learn more and do coursework on how climate change impacts farm workers and farm communities.
Right.
That means people have to spend more days in the ER. When I was born, we had 70, I believe it was 72 days of extreme weather, meaning it was 90 and above when I was born. We
Right.
have now, I think, 132 days of extreme weather here in the Valley. And
Right.
that really impacts our farm workers. We are outside. You can't telework when you've got to pick grapes. You
Right,
can't
right,
telework when we're, shelling pistachios. So there's a real impact to what's happening in the world, especially here in the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens here impacts everybody's livelihood because we provide fruit and vegetables for the world. So
Right.
if there's something happening, we need to know what to do about it. And so everything always leads me back to my education. And thank God I've always had an opportunity to keep going back.
Yeah, we're in a unique, we're like we say, we are in a valley.
Yeah.
And everything pours into all the pollution of every other city and stuff. Because I smelled, during the volcano deal, when that little small eruption, we had, soot here
Oh,
in the
yeah.
valley.
Oh, yeah.
During the fires, we had soot, and you could smell the
You
fire.
can see the ash on your car,
Right,
and you look at the air quality index and it's 200,
right,
250, 300.
right.
Sometimes we've had the worst air quality in America, and it's not healthy to go outside. They're having to cancel kids' sports that are outside.
Yeah,
And that's a huge impact. You can cancel sports, but if it's your job, it's your bread and butter to work outside in the field, or you're a farm owner,
right.
you need to do that. You cannot let your year's worth of crop miss harvest.
No, it's hard on the crop.
Absolutely. And so for me, it was really learning about the impacts of climate change, not only on our health because of the health issues that I personally have,
Right.
but also I come from a farming community. I come from a long history of farm owners.
Is
And
that
so
right?
it's really, oh, yeah, I'm a, gosh, probably 10th generation farmer. I'm
Really?
Punjabi, and in Punjab, where I'm from in India,
Right.
our family's owned wheat farms since for as long as I can, for as long as I know.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Easton, would it? Where did you?
Well, our farms are all in India. My parents own
India.
farms
Oh,
in
okay,
Punjab.
India.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not here. But a lot of my family do. A lot
Yeah.
of our relatives own farms here. Greewall Farms, which is my parents' side of the family. All our relatives own farms here.
Here.
Carruthers,
Right.
Selma, Easton.
Yeah.
In that part of the
Yeah, there's a
valley.
big Indian influence
Absolutely.
out, in the Eastern Carruthers area.
That's
I noticed.
right. Yeah.
Well, they're hard workers. You got to be hard
And
working.
it's our experience, it's our family lineage, it's our history.
Right.
Farming is what we know. That's what we're taught as children.
Right.
Working on the farm. And so for us, it's second nature. Everybody that's an immigrant here takes the tricks of the trade that they learn from their own families
Right.
and implement it into their lives here.
It seems like they made this for you.
This job?
Yeah.
Well, it's really funny. So I don't know if you know Glenda Humiston, who used to work at the USDA.
No.
She is now the vice president of UCANR. I worked with her right after I graduated my MBA. I moved back home.
Yeah.
And I worked at the Office of Community and Economic Development, and she was part of the San Joaquin partnership that we have, which is bringing people that focus their work and their livelihood on the San Joaquin Valley. She was part of that group, and I worked so well with her, and I just thought, man, she is so smart. She is so talented.
Right.
And I love the way that she communicates. And when this position opened up, she had shared it somewhere, and I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. And living on the East Coast for so many years, I just always wanted to come back home. And my husband at the time, he's doing his residency here in town as well at a community program. So he's a family medicine physician.
Wow.
And I said, what if this worked out? And he said, well, then we'll move there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I came out here and I gave it a shot. It just felt like such a good fit based on my experience, the work skills that I have, and also what my passion is, which is agriculture, climate change, research, science, doing all of these different things. And the focus of my MBA was on organization development. And within my 4 counties, I have close to 20 academics who either have a master's or PhD in their specialty. So they might have a PhD in citrus research, avocados, pistachios, olives, almonds, grapes. I mean, you name it, we cover that. And so I oversee not only all of them, but all of the research assistants that we have. I oversee all of the administrators that we have in our 4 counties, and also our county employees. So I have close to 100 people that work for the university here in the valley that I oversee. And my focus in my MBA was large organization systems.
Yeah.
And I basically, it feels like we run our own little organization here because we really focus on providing research and extension support to the community.
Right.
We're far from a university. The closest UC we have is UC Merced, which is 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
A farmer in Easton or Carruthers isn't going to call UC Merced to ask a question about powdery mildew that they're having on their raisins. That's our job. We answer those questions. Or if there's a master gardener that has a question about their small farm, they're seeing a pesticide, or they're understanding why their trees are sick, they want to know what they can do. That's where we step in and answer those questions for our community. So the reason Cooperative Extension exists is because of the Hatch Act.
Yeah.
That's about 100 years old, where they said you need to have access in every county to research that's happening at a Research One university, whether you're 10 miles away or 1,000 miles away, you need to have access to that research. So Cooperative Extension has been around for 100 years. We work very closely with the ag commissioner and the counties, the county administrators in each county to make sure that we are not only accessible to the regions, we're accessible to our clientele, and we also work as closely with them as possible. So you'll notice that I think in almost all but one county, our Cooperative Extension office will be in the same building as the ag commissioner, weights and measures office.
Yeah. Yeah. Christopher in Visalia.
That's right.
Yeah. We went through a lot. I couldn't believe how much they do.
There's so much that we do. If there's a question, we will find an answer for you.
Yeah, he
So-
was like, yeah, we do all the scales. And I was like, you do? I didn't know that. I thought, oh, you just do the wings and, the wings.
So the ag commissioner team, so they do weights and measures. So they will verify that something is meeting quality standards. If somebody says they're selling something for 5 pounds,
Right.
they will weight and measure if it's 5 pounds.
Yeah.
So the ag commissioner team does a lot more than just provide permits. They answer a lot of questions, and we tag team. So if something comes into Tom Tucker, who is the Tulare County ag commissioner, and Chris Greer, who
Yeah.
I'm sure is his assistant
Yeah.
ag commissioner, if they have a question they can't answer, they send it to me in my department.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
And what do you, and then you delegate to who answers that question? You know.
I will know. So let's say you say I have a sick tree. I don't know what to do. I will. And if
You mean like a general person?
absolutely, it's
Really?
funny that you mentioned that. My
They
husband
don't
and I were
know
at dinner.
that.
Yeah, my husband and I were at dinner, and we were sitting next to a couple, and they had said, "Oh, well, we just got into a conversation," and they said, "Well, what do you do?" And I told them I worked at Cooperative Extension.
It's kind of, yeah.
they
It's
just-
like, what's that?
What does that mean? That's right. And
Yeah.
so they happen to live near someone who's a master gardener. And they said, we've had a sick tree in our front lawn for a really long time. We love that tree. Is there anything we can do? And I said, here's my card. Give me a call. He emailed me. I put him in touch with a master gardener. Their tree is doing perfectly well now.
Really?
They weren't providing, it wasn't pruned properly.
Yeah.
It needed some additional work. They wanted to make sure that there wasn't certain pesticides that they were using on it. So it's just funny how a lot of people don't know what Cooperative Extension is, but we're here. I say we're the best kept secret in the Central Valley
Oh, yeah.
because we all have plants, we all have fruits, we all have some type of gardening skill that we could improve on, and there might be something we know that we can provide you support on.
Yeah, it is so broad what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're going to know a lot about a lot of things. So you can coordinate
I do a lot of on-the-job learning and training, and the last 3 years, I feel I've never learned as much than I did outside of school
Oh,
than now
absolutely.
because I work with researchers, and as part of that job, I evaluate them. I'm their supervisor. So now I need to know a lot about citrus,
yeah.
a lot about avocados, a lot about nuts, a lot about vineyards, a lot about small farms, soils. I need to know a lot about pest management, agronomy. You're learning so much. You have to train your brain to understand and shift whenever you're speaking to a different academic,
Right.
or you're speaking to someone in the community that doesn't know what, a pest, what is an integrative pest management? What does that mean?
Yeah,
What is a
yeah.
weed science advisor? What do they do?
Yeah.
Why is there a science behind weeds? Well, there's weeds involved in everything.
Yeah.
How do we manage them? How do we best utilize them? How do we make sure that there's pests, there's different pesticides, there's different sprays? What can we do to really keep our fruits and vegetables healthy, keep our gardens healthy, keep the soil healthy? There's a lot you have to learn.
And you're into forestry too, aren't you?
We do. So we have forestry management. I don't have any advisors here locally
Right.
that do forestry
Oh, yeah,
management,
yeah.
but we now have a fire advisor, which is a brand new position that was just created. So this person's job is really educating the community on prescribed fires, understanding the impacts that wildfires have.
Oh, yeah.
Something really cool that we just did recently was we did samples of wine from vineyards that were impacted by wildfire and smoke,
Uh-huh.
and then wines that were a year before that, or a season before.
Right.
And you can taste the difference in a wine that's been grapes that have been fermented and there was smoke in the air, or it was a
Really?
really bad wildfire season, and a year before or a year after. And it's just learning what that looks like. What does a fire look like? What's a prescribed fire? How do you prepare your cattle? How do ranchers prepare if there's a wildfire? What can we do to protect our animals and our livestock? What can we do to protect our soils during wildfire season? So I'm learning so much. I mean, I'm learning as quickly
Jeez.
as possible about all the really great specialists that we have and a lot
Yeah.
of the specialties in which we provide.
Yeah. So you don't get it, what you do is it's incredibly vast. It really is.
There's a lot to learn, but
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want to take credit for that because I am not
No, you're a
this PhD.
facilitator.
I facilitate it.
Yeah,
and
but
I
you got to
support
know
them.
what's going on.
I have to learn. And so just recently, Senator Laird had supported us in receiving additional funding because I think for the last 20 years, Cooperative Extension has been receiving budget cut after budget cut, like a lot of different places. Now we finally received the influx to get us back to having the number of advisors we had 20 years ago. So
Right.
because of that, I'm able to recommit and add different advisors that have specialties back into the region. So
Yeah.
I've gotten 6 new positions that I'm going to be able to recruit for, which is fantastic because Tulare is the number 1 dairy
Oh, yeah.
dairy county in the state,
Yeah.
and we're finally going to have a dairy advisor that is solely focused on providing support to our Tulare County dairymen, and I think that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. The dairy community. Farming and what I like to get across to people, and we'll talk about, young kids. Farming's tough.
Farming is very tough,
Yeah.
and farming changes, and people don't really understand how any type of education you get, it would translate to agriculture. I have a friend who is a computer engineer, and I said that. I said, any specialty you have, it could translate to ag. Well, how could a computer engineer do that?
Oh, easy.
We have milk production mechanizations and mechanics. We need somebody who can engineer and work with dairymen and work with different communities to say, how can we make this automated? How can we support this?
That's
make
where
this easy?
that's where it's all at now.
It really is
Yeah.
because you're looking at
You got to
doing
get rid
things-
of the labor. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's even that. It's making things more efficient,
Right.
making things quicker.
Right.
How do we really work through certain situations? What are the bottleneck issues that dairymen have? How do we solve those issues? Some it might be mechanization,
Yeah.
some it might be pasteurization. And all of those techniques, all of those technologies require engineering.
Right.
Somebody who has a business degree. Okay, you're a farmer. You have an almond farm. How are you going to sell your almonds?
Yeah.
You need to find somebody who's a distributor. You need to find clients. You need to find somebody who's going to purchase that. Who's going to do that? Who's the accounting? Who's going to do your tax accounting?
Oh,
And I know someone who's in insurance. I said, who does ag insurance, crop insurance? You
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
that
to know.
deal. Yeah.
There's so many different avenues. And I think when we think about agriculture, people think it's very rural. It is not cutting edge. I've never seen so much cutting edge research as I have attending different conferences, learning about ag technology, learning about how we can impact small farms, things that work on farms that are 1 acre, things that work on farms that are 10,000 acres.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot out there that we don't know, and you have to just be open to learning, being a forever educator, like I call myself.
Yeah, they don't deal with. I mean, and a farmer, he deals with ag, or he or she, they deal with ag, but they deal with business. They deal with all this chemistry, engineering, all this stuff.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah, and Mother Nature comes in and puts her foot in the whole thing. To boot.
Absolutely. And farmers are just, I've never seen people work harder. And you're absolutely right. They're chemists. They're having to mix their pesticides.
Oh, yeah.
They have to, they're scientists to figure out what pesticide to use, how much to use. Is the soil healthy enough for this crop season? Do I need to fallow my land? How do I manage my rangeland? How much water do I need? What
that's
kind of
big.
water do
Yeah.
I need?
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it. When is the peak season? They're looking at different things. They're checking temperatures. They're looking at different things to make sure things are moving along smoothly. Things we would never think of.
Oh, yeah.
And they know when a tree is sick. I've met people that said, I never knew a tree could be sick. It's either just growing fruit or it's dead. And I said, well, what happens between that and the end?
There's all kind of stuff
There's
involved.
so much stuff. And I
Yeah.
think, farmers don't get as much credit as they deserve for all the hard work that they put into making one grape, making one almond. There's so much that happens behind the scenes.
all that, and then you have to sell your product.
Totally different beast.
Yeah,
And think about all the
transport it.
competition. So, almonds have just grown
Oh, yeah,
exponentially
they're
over
the
the
biggest
last
thing, yeah.
20 years. A lot of people are completely, covering their land doing almonds now because the per pound it's more competitive and
Yeah.
you get your bang for your buck there. What does that look like for you? Who are you going to sell it to? I mean, once the market is saturated with everybody selling almonds, how do you get your foot in the door if you're a small farmer?
Yeah.
So there's a lot out there. Or if you're a specialty crops farmer. So we have a lot of Hmong farmers here.
Right.
Specialty crops that are for East Asian communities alone. How are you going to sell those?
Yeah, they do a lot of strawberries and
Moringa, special
moringas,
vegetables
specialty
that only
fruits.
are, and specialty fruits that they can sell at farmers market,
Right.
fresh farmers
Yeah,
market.
they're
They sell
big.
direct to restaurants that
Yeah.
specialize in that type of produce.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's a lot of opportunities, but how do you make that connection? That's the part that I'm just fascinated by, that there are contacts being made, how they transport this, how they keep it fresh, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
might be transporting it to another state, another country.
Freezer, cold storage.
Yeah.
There's some. See, that's what's good about almonds
Oh, yeah.
and pistachios. They've got a long,
Lot of life.
shelf life.
That's right.
Right. And with all these issues we're having now with transportation and getting things out to the public and everything, and most I think all the almonds are 80% of them are exported. Am I close to that number? or something?
I'm not sure what the
If it's
numbers
that
are, so I
big?
wouldn't want to give you an
Yeah,
exact number, but we
yeah.
do export a lot. A lot is used for almond milk.
Yeah,
And you had mentioned, the long shelf life, but let's say we have an offhand rain right at the tail end of harvest. Well, that could create a mold issue
Oh,
within the
yeah.
shell.
Yeah.
We had that happen recently, and so a lot of folks were really panicked because I think a few months ago we had a off-season rain and no
Right.
one was expecting it. And people that had, harvest to do for their pistachios, they all started freaking out. We had other folks that it was raisin season. So you've probably seen
Yeah.
on the side of the road, we have a lot of raisin farms around here. So
Yeah.
they'll put the trays or the paper
Sure.
and they've picked the grapes so they let them dry on the ground.
Right.
Well, if it rains, you can't pick it all up fast enough.
No,
and there
no, no.
goes your produce for the whole season.
No, you get mold.
Yeah, you
And
get
then
mold.
you have to
The refining
insurance,
processes.
dehydrators, blah, blah, blah,
Exactly.
blah, blah. It's tough.
It's a very tough industry, and
Yeah.
to remain competitive,
Yeah.
it's tough. Now you're seeing large farms grow exponentially. People will buy land, and it's very hard now for someone who's a small farmer, a small business farmer, 5 acres or less, 10
Yeah.
acres. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
a lot more work to do and a lot less hands.
Yeah, that's a
So,
hobby. I come from a lineage too, and it's the same thing. We'd go, 20 acres and a home on the property, that's a hobby.
yeah,
you
it's
know.
tough. It's
Yeah.
really hard to maintain.
It's a
and
tough hobby.
as generations go on, families, people might lose interest in what that looks like and how can we stay cutting edge? How can we stay competitive? There needs to be a passion behind that machine to keep it moving.
Well, now they have those farmers markets for small, that
Farmers, yeah.
creates that.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. You can have 20 acres or 10 acres or something and go to the market. I knew a guy, and he's from a well-known family, and they're very large. And he started out, he told his mom, and she's really business-minded, and she held the purse strings. And he said, hey, I'm going to buy fruit and sell it and go to all the farmers markets. And she said, you're nuts. And he says, no, I'm going to do that. He really became big.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, he worked. He told me, he says, hey, you got cash. People are looking at you. You have to be, you got to get the food. You got to sell it. And it's, it's a big thing.
It's a big undertaking, but we have so many farmers markets now, and
Yeah.
especially during the pandemic, folks are craving fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, as limited pesticides on their foods as possible, going to an open air market where
Right.
they can go out, touch the produce that they're getting, and people are selling it. I think all of us were really yearning to support small businesses and small farmers.
Absolutely.
And that was such a huge deal. Not only are there so many farm stands, but there's also so many farmers markets that happen almost every single day of the week somewhere within the counties.
Now, do the smaller farms need you more than the bigger farms?
So we have a actual academic that does her entire research on supporting small farms and specialty crops. So that
Interesting.
way they have received the support, because a lot of our small farmers are minorities. They
Right.
might be Hmong, Hispanic, Black farmers, Punjabi farmers, East Asian farmers, that they don't know what the new Sigma policy is. They're just receiving letters from the mail and they don't know
Yeah,
what
what
it
do I
means.
do?
This
Yeah.
means nothing to me. They're scared. A lot of the new policies or a lot of opportunities that come about, they're not translated into their first native language.
Uh-huh.
So we really focus, and her team do a fantastic job. USDA, EDA, there's so many grant opportunities, but if you don't know about them, how are you going to apply? How are you going to stay competitive?
I need one.
Yeah,
I do.
it's really, well, you can talk to Ruth. She is a
Really?
fantastic, her name is Ruth.
Yeah,
She
I'll
does
do
a
that.
fantastic job.
Yeah.
And especially during the pandemic, I really kudos to her. She and her team went out and provided PPE to all of her small
Yeah, that's
farms.
big.
She provided signage for them so that they could understand how to stay safe and still stay open, and giving them information on how, what the new regulations are, what are the COVID regulations, even helping folks get the vaccine, because they don't know. I don't know. I'm sure you remember, but early on it was based on your job, your age,
Yeah.
what community. And so a lot of those
nobody knew anything. It was
Yeah.
just like,
And-
we think this
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
And it's like, oh my. So
And-
you have to go and educate people what's going on, and it's changing.
It's farmers are first responders. We can't let harvest just die
Yeah.
off. So they were able to get their vaccines in advance of other populations. And there was a rolling system that they had at the time. And she was the one educating folks on, hey, this is when your turn is going to come. This is what you need to do. Here's funding. Here's, PPE funding, community funding, that
Right,
the city, the
right.
state, the counties, at the federal level, here's funding to help support your small business that might have been impacted by the pandemic. And a lot of people I've heard many times firsthand say that if it wasn't for the support that we received from Cooperative Extension and our small farms team, they would have lost their farms. They can't sustain themselves when we're, in the midst of this pandemic, and they can't go out and sell. This farmers markets were shutting down. A lot of the grocery stores were not buying a lot of this. They were buying only the basics, only the necessities to keep the doors open and staple foods. But when you're talking about specialty crops, they're not getting as much business as they used to.
Right.
So, and restaurants, anybody that's a direct supplier to restaurants were all closed.
Right.
So there was a huge impact to the ag community there. But I feel like we're now hopefully making that shift, making that trend back
You had
to
to
our
shift
normal
gears.
numbers. Completely. And for us, it's really about educating folks about what's happening, how we support them. And thank God we did not have to lay anybody off during that time. I've never been busier in my life.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, it's finding you too.
Yeah. And
That's
I
a
think
big deal.
That's a big deal. And especially I was at the Punjabi radio station not too long ago, and folks said, we've never heard of you. And I think that's
I
the
never
biggest
heard of you.
Yeah. And that's
And
such a
you're- yeah,
disservice
and you're a
because
big
I think
thing.
it's, our entire job depends on being accessible to our community members. And that's my job, is to really advocate and communicate effectively. We are here to provide support. It is free of service. You do not have to pay a dime to contact us or to have anybody out come out and do a farm call. If you have questions, we will find the answers for you. So, and it's not just that we do cooperative extension research. We also oversee the statewide 4-H programs, which are
Yeah, that's big. I saw that.
and our Master
So
Gardener
now, how does
programs.
that work with the 4-H?
So 4-H, I'm sure you've probably heard, is it's a program for kids.
It's great.
It's a great program to teach kids about different parts. There's so many different projects that we have in 4-H, and it's overseen by our department. So we have community education specialists in each of my counties that support
Really?
all of the clubs. We have local clubs
Yeah.
in each of our counties, and they support and oversee all of them. And so that's just one piece of the larger pie of work that our department does. And the Master Gardener program. So what we do is if you have 2 acres or less, you can call our hotline anytime and say, hey, I have a question about these certain flowers, or when's the best time to plant this, or my tomatoes didn't turn out the way I wanted. What's going on here? They will answer that question
No
for you.
kidding.
And you take a class. So we have every year, we have a new class of master gardeners who
Yeah.
learn throughout the year. They're taking classes, they're learning, they're doing on the job training to figure out how do I answer those questions. And they spend their year doing service hours. We have gardens throughout the valley. We have one at Madera Community College, Garden of the Sun, which is near the Fresno airport. In Madera County, we have the community college, and we have so many within my 4 counties
Right.
that you can go to, and there's plots there. We grow fruits and vegetables. We don't donate them to different causes, different communities, different shelters.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of pounds of food that we donate every year.
You work with the food agencies.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Who's telling me? Fresno Farm Bureau.
Yeah, so we work very closely with the farm bureaus.
Yeah.
We are
Visalia, Fresno.
Yes,
Madera.
yes.
Yeah.
So we
yeah.
do all of the farm bureaus. We're a part of them. I'm part of the advisory committee for all 4 in the counties that I'm in.
Wow.
And so I attend those meetings and I update them on a monthly basis on the new updates that my department has,
Yeah.
anything new that's happening, any new staff that I have, any new research that we found out about, like, recently we were looking at a new bug that they found in citrus, and I said, "Here, we're finding this."
Yeah, I saw that.
We're
I read
seeing a
about
lot.
that.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
We're seeing a lot of this in our citrus. We want you to be aware, or your lemons might have been seeing X, Y, and Z. We
Yeah.
alert people so that they're aware and they can be cognizant of what we're finding, because our research is open to the public. We're a public university, so anything we do, it's accessible to everyone.
You have LA and San Francisco and us in between, and they have no idea how important we are.
Oh, I mean, and I think
No
that,
idea.
Fresno, I feel the Valley always considers itself as the middle child. We're not the Bay Area
No.
that gets all the tech and
Yeah.
all the glitz and glamour. And we're also not the Southern California with the beach.
Right.
We're in the middle, but we are not the middle of nowhere. We are the middle of everywhere. That's
Right.
what I always say. We are 1 hour away
That's
from a
good.
beach, the snow. You could do it all from being here.
Yeah.
And I am just so proud to be from the Valley. And that's exactly why I wanted to come home. We need a lot more cheerleaders for the work that we do. I mean, we are the breadbasket for the world. When you think about
Oh, yeah.
all the work that we do to provide fruits and vegetables and crops to the world, we should be receiving all the funding, all the opportunities, and all the accolades, but we're humble people where we work we work down to the bone,
Right.
so we don't have time to worry about those things.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody, and we were talking, and I said, we make cities. Cities don't make farms.
That is 100%
You
true.
know, Los Angeles, at one time, they were the agricultural center of the United States.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, at one time.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
things change, but our communities are deep rooted in their commitment to
Right.
ag, and a lot of our jobs depend on agriculture, and so we really focus on that.
All
And
of
it's
them.
just
Yeah.
I don't know anybody whose life is not impacted directly by the ag communities that we work in here locally.
Yeah, we used to have in the 80s, we had a big lumber, and that went away.
Yeah.
So it just left ag, and then ag grew, but we were doing more with less?
We do more with less, but it's really not sustainable. So I don't expect people to just continue to do more with less. You've got to do less with less at times. And for example, we used to have a cotton advisor when we had,
Yeah.
I think, 5,000
Cotton
acres
was
of
big here.
cotton was big, and
Yeah.
now it's very, very small. It's
Well.
not, it's almost non-existent here.
Yeah, it's gone from it's mainly medical.
Yeah.
Now it used to be clothing, and I saw it got smaller and smaller, but they diversified and they went to other things too.
That's right.
So,
There's got to be creative shifts that are made when trends change. So like I said, almonds are the hot
Planning.
thing.
Yeah.
Now that we have plant-based milk products or dairy products,
Yeah, soy
or
products.
dairy supplements that you want to call them,
Yeah.
things are changing. You're seeing a lot more cashews, a lot more almonds. It's interesting to see the changes that are made, but these trends are sustainable if you're looking to, really impact and understand how that's going to really change the trajectory of your land and your soil.
Right. Now, do you deal with any kind of water issues?
We sure do. Who doesn't? I mean, Sigma is a huge deal. It's a huge impact on a
Right.
lot of the work that we do. And like I mentioned, our small farms program, they really educate folks on what those Sigma policies are looking like,
Right.
what the direct impact is going to look like for a farmer, and what they can do to get support if they need to speak to someone at the water board. Is there, I'm currently working with someone who focuses their research on garlic and onions, and they work in the 5 Points area, and they're needing, their well needs to get dug deeper because
Yeah.
they need more water. You're borrowing water from your neighbor, your neighbor
Yeah.
who's also a farmer. There's so many issues that we all deal with when we're speaking about water, and we don't talk about the politics of it. We're really looking at solution-based information on.
Yeah, that's what I was reading. Yeah, you're not in to say yay or nay. You're
Oh,
you're
no.
trying to find this, which is excellent.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we're a
that's
public university. We're not allowed to lobby. We're not a political organization
great.
by any means.
Yeah.
My job is to really, if somebody's saying, we need water, these are some of the issues that I'm having, I'm going to put them in contact with someone who knows what to do, how to support you, who to put you in contact with. That's our job.
Yeah.
And then from there, I can't say one thing,
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah. So I saw this California Institute for Water Resources. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
right?
So,
Okay.
and so we work quite well with some of our agencies. So I'm sure you're familiar with the WET Center, the Water Energy
Yeah.
Technology Center at Fresno State. They're wonderful partners of ours. We work with the Department of Conservation. We work with NRCS. So there's so many different agencies that we work really closely with that we provide extension services, extension research to, that can then use that information to really impact how we really address the water issues in the community.
Right. That's great. Yeah, this is organic. That's really you deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a real big thing now.
So we just opened, I think it was in 2019, we announced our organic farm. So Houston Wilson, who works out at our Kearney Research Extension Center, which is in Parlier here, he's overseeing our organic farm and really focusing on what organic looks like, how we can transition that. What does that mean? How do we provide education and information to somebody who would like to transition their farms to organic?
Yeah.
So he really specializes in all of that.
Yeah, being certified, that's a big thing.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah,
And what
it's
does
tough
that
to
look
do.
like? And is that, what are the costs? What are the benefits? What's
Right.
the risks involved in that? Who would you sell that to? Who's, what's the interest? What's the price point at which your produce would sell for? Is that viable or feasible for the amount of work and water you're going to need?
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into making a decision about whether you want to go full organic or not,
Yeah.
and how that's going to impact your production.
Yeah, because that's a big deal now.
Oh, yeah.
People look for organic this, organic that, and you gotta make do. It's tough. It really is for the farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And I think that's why I think farmers are the most they're underestimated. For
No,
the
yeah,
amount
they're
of
the
work
lost
that
son heroes.
Yeah.
They really are. You got to. Well, my dad, he was, farming here, and he just said, "You got to be crazy to be a farmer."
It's a lot of work.
It's in your blood. He told
It's
me.
in your blood, and
Yeah.
you work very hard.
Oh, yeah.
Long hours.
Yeah.
And you have to be the jack of so many different trades.
Yeah.
So I think that has been such a eye-opening experience for me to see how much work goes into doing one small thing. One harvest takes so many hours of commitment, preparation, and implementation and action for things to be successful. And this is year over year over year.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I'm absolutely floored by it.
Yeah, you do one little thing, and it could just throw you all off.
Absolutely.
Just one little, and there is a lot of little things involved.
You've got to keep your eye on everything.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like we aren't EIEIO. This is not
And
plowing with a horse.
and
It's
that
not.
simpleton,
It's there.
mentality
Yeah.
that doesn't even exist. If
Yeah.
you look at what the ag community does, we are
Oh.
cutting edge of everything.
Yeah.
So, that mentality just doesn't exist. That is just a
Yeah.
rhetorical way to look at things, but that's, not anything of the reality here.
Yeah. Well, the farm show,
Yeah.
it's like,
Have you been to the Tulare County Ag Show?
I've been ever since it's
amazing.
yeah, at the beginning, you just parked and walked a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to take a bus.
So Tulare County has the world's biggest
Oh, yeah.
ag expo. It's amazing. We get over 100,000 people that
Internationally,
fly in,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
internationally that fly in from the whole entire world to come to Tulare. I mean, it is such a huge influx and opportunity for folks, especially in the county.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a huge opportunity for us. And if you've never been, to anyone that's listening, I think it is probably the funnest week you're going to have. There's so much to see. There's so much new technology that's presented. There's so much you learn, and you get to see the history. I mean, the ag show's been there for over 100 years, and you're going to see brand new technology, brand new mechanics, different companies, different resources. It's amazing the things that I've seen there, and also the food is great. It's such a wonderful time. I think it is the best place to be, and it's not a secret because the world knows it happens here. 100,000 people in Tulare County.
Oh, yeah.
It grows. You'll know when it's coming to town.
The last time I was there, I was right before COVID.
Uh-huh.
And I went. And then COVID hit, and I went, I'm going to get it, because I was just at the farm show, and Tulare is just packed with COVID. And that's why it spread so much. Everybody was there internationally. And I got it later. But
How are you doing now?
I'm fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I had 2 shots, and
You're doing
I had
good.
a fever.
Yeah. Well, thank God you're okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
No, and the ag shows outside, most of it, they have different pavilions where they'll have specific technology,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's open air and it's huge. I mean, think about like a state fair.
Yeah.
That's how big the
It's
agri
huge.
center is. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to see. You'll get your steps in that day if you're if you got your tennis shoes on.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, if you could tell me what that machine does and that machine does, I said, it's almost impossible. You got to go find out, because the stuff's weird.
Yeah.
That they have out there. It's weird looking. You'll never figure
New
it out.
tractors that drive themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Pruners that prune
automated.
trees alone.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
And you'll see things about like vertical farming, which is really cool.
Yeah. I spoke to a guy in Dubai, and that's what they do. Well, India, Dubai, you know what the deal is, and it's all vertical farming. So you can manage automation a lot easier in vertical farming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. And, what does that look like? What is the density? And then there's people that do research on the science of the crops. Does is the biochemistry the same as one that would be made in Fresno or Tulare County? There's a lot that goes into that, and they want to make it as close as possible to the real thing.
Yeah, I wonder if that's it, because of the land. We don't go up, we go out.
Yes.
And I'm always wondering, well, in the future, long future, will things go up because lands,
it's getting more
water, the whole,
compacted.
the whole thing, and you can manage weeds and bugs and everything with vertical farming.
Yeah.
But there's a lot you can't do with vertical farming, but there's a lot you can do too.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that type of technology, and places that have space issues, or they also don't have the soil. Places in the Middle East, where their soil is not conducive to growing healthy fruits and vegetables. The salinity isn't there.
Yeah.
Water access isn't there, so they need to go somewhere where they would need to try something new and creative.
Yeah, they don't have like grocery stores there.
They have open door markets.
Yeah,
and
open door
bazaars.
markets. That's what they have a lot of.
So what they'll do is, you don't have a grocery store like we do, where you can go
Yeah.
and get your everything in one row. You're going to go to one stand that sells one thing, then go to the next stand that sells that one thing. So every farmer really does have their own specialty crops.
Yeah. The traffic in the morning must be incredible in those places.
Well, going to Punjab my whole life, my parents grew up there, you don't really use a refrigerator. Their refrigerators are about the size of our office refrigerators.
Right. Yeah, it's
Because
boom, boom.
they,
Yeah.
on their way home from work every day, will go pick up whatever they need for the day, maybe
Right.
2 days. So if you're making, peas and carrots tonight, you're buying peas and carrots for that night.
Yeah, they go and
Here,
shop.
we're
Yeah.
buying a 10-pound bag of carrots and it's sitting in the fridge,
Half of it's
and
dead.
it's
Yeah.
exactly, a lot of our
Yeah.
produce goes
Freezer
to waste.
burns and everything else. I know.
And
Yeah.
it's just when you're trying something fresh and that's built in that environment,
Yeah.
it tastes completely different.
Did you study gluten?
I didn't, no, but I do have a lot of people in my family that have gluten allergy,
Yeah,
and I'm
it's a big
very
deal.
curious to learn more.
Yeah. More and more people are getting it, and
And I wonder why that is.
Gluten-
I don't know.
it's a preservative. So this is, my educated
Well,
look
I'm
at
just so
things,
curious because I see a lot of kids now have different allergies that are, peanut allergies. My mom was telling me anecdotally she'd never heard of such a thing.
Yeah. They never heard. When I was a kid, you didn't have to worry about people. There was a little bit of maybe somebody, but you didn't. Yeah.
And now it's very common for people to have certain nut allergies, being gluten intolerant.
Yeah.
And, I'm just so curious to learn how this has happened. Is it just that we didn't hear about it as much, or has there been a real increase in some of these allergens that people have?
Yeah, something's, I don't know what it is. If it's environmental
Yeah.
or I don't know. But it's a worry because more and more people, I know people with celiac disease,
Yeah.
and it's like, I was like, how do you get celiac disease?
And it's
You know?
painful. I have 2 people in my family that
Yeah.
are gluten-free and have celiac disease, and
Yeah.
it is detrimental to their health if they have gluten. They will be doubled over and they cannot get up.
Yeah.
They're sick. And,
Yeah.
and I'm just so curious because it was a later life onset for them, like in their 30s.
That's
it happens, which
exactly
is really
right.
interesting.
Yeah, it was 30, 40 years old. I know people that have, and it was, they didn't know.
Yeah.
So we'd go out and eat and stuff, and it's like, I'm sick. I'm like, well, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And she finally figured it out. So she goes to the doctor and says, I think I've got celiac disease. And the doctor was, oh, no.
Yeah.
And this was 20 years ago. And he was like, no, you don't have that. It's really rare. And she goes, no, I want to be tested. And he did it. And he comes back, and I was there, and she said, hey, I have celiac. And he says, yeah, you've got severe gluten allergies, And he said, I got to tell you, I'm sorry, because I didn't think you did.
Yeah. And
And then after it's been like 20 some years, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So,
yeah.
I don't know what's causing that. But
I don't
I
either.
hope we
but
figure it out.
I sure do too.
Yeah,
And
it's really screwing people
something to
up.
definitely look into.
Yeah, but there's a lot of gluten and stuff.
That's
So
true.
it's a big preservative.
It's a big preservative.
Yeah, it's that shelf life. Again, it's part of the plan. It's really tough.
It is tough, but if you go to different places around the world, people do not have preservatives. They do not
No.
eat so much boxed food like
That's
we
another
do
thing.
here.
Yeah, you're big in nutrition too,
Big
right?
time. We have
Yeah.
we have the largest nutrition program in the state here in Fresno and Madera counties, and we teach people how to eat healthy, how to eat fresh, and not only just how to make a salad, which people think, oh, I don't want to eat just salads all day. How you incorporate fresh fruits and vegetables into your daily life
Right.
sustainably. So if you like eating eggs in the morning for breakfast and having toast, well, how can we add in some fruits and vegetables there?
Yeah.
If you eat Indian food or Hispanic food and you have ethnic foods that are staples in your culture, how do we incorporate fresh vegetables in there to make it healthy? Let's take out
That's
the
interesting.
preservatives.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to learn how to eat fresh. And it's really eye-opening to hear that we have so many food deserts within the San Joaquin Valley where we grow all these fruits and vegetables, but we have food deserts here, meaning there's neighborhoods and communities and cities that don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. The closest place for them to go is a local gas station or like a really small market
Yeah.
where they don't have that much fresh fruit and vegetables to pick from.
Yeah.
It's easier to get, either frozen or canned vegetables. And although canned is okay, fresh is the best.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we don't want people to just, if you live in a food desert, how do you sustain that?
Ryan Jacobson was telling me about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I never heard of that. And I was like, really? We have those? And he says, oh, yeah.
It's the biggest issue. It's one of the bigger issues that we deal with is
Yeah.
kids are not learning at a young age how to make fresh fruits and vegetables because they're used to eating packaged foods, canned foods. They don't have access. Their family can't afford it. And if you think about it, what's cheaper, a bag of chips and a soda or a bag of salad? It's going to be the chips and the soda. You can
Yeah.
get that for $1.
Yeah.
But to buy something fresh, it costs a little bit more. It shouldn't be that way.
Right.
A bottle of water sometimes costs more than a can of soda. Water should not cost that much.
Oh, absolutely. That's
And
ridiculous.
it's important that we teach kids at a young age how to eat healthy, how to identify healthy foods, and how to make healthy choices.
Right.
Because you can be told every day to eat healthy, but what
If
does
you
that
don't
choice
know,
look
if you're
like?
not educated,
You don't
in it,
know.
It's like, so have you ever had a peach?
Yeah,
Peach? Well, yeah. But no, really.
like
Have
a
you
real
ever had
peach.
a
And how do
peach?
you,
And,
eat that?
and then it's like, you could get these. You got to go to the store. But it's like, he was telling me about these, like you say, these food islands, and they're like, they're not available.
They're not available.
Yeah.
They're seasonal. Or, another issue that I did research on in college was our information bias. So I'll show you a handful of Skittles or a tortilla, and I'll ask you, well, how many calories is in here? And we vastly, as Americans, underestimate the number of calories in everything. I mean, it was funny to me to see some of the answers. Like a tortilla has, it might have maybe 90 calories or how many grams of sugar. You ask these questions, people will say 1, 10.
Yeah.
And I did my research at a university. So
Oh, yeah.
these are folks that said there's 10 calories in here. How many calories are in 10 Skittles? Well, 10 calories. That's not true. How much sugar is in there?
Yeah.
And there's so much to learn
don't
about the lack of nutrition education that we have. So it's really important that we educate folks at a young age on how to really maintain that education and keep it going.
Yeah, I always thought it should be incorporated in school and like physical education. That's gone now.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, well, you should have, instead of playing ball, maybe a few weeks, it should be like, this is what food, and how to read the back of the label. It says portions.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what a portion is.
No.
It's like, well, 90 calories. No, you're eating 4 portions.
Right. There used to be home economic classes. I know that a lot of those types of softer sciences, they call them, have dissipated. But it's important to learn because when you don't know how much is in a cup or a third of a cup, and again, you don't know how to read the measurements on a nutritional label, you think a portion is the whole bag of chips. Well, that was 4 portions, like you said.
Yeah. That feeds the whole family, man, not just you. You on the couch and everything.
So, I totally agree with you. Nutrition education is key to what we do. And so we have a large team that provides that support, not only to elementary through high school, we do adult education as well. And we also work on this project called Jobs 2000. So anyone who is a juvenile delinquent or someone who's coming out of a correctional facility, we provide them food handling and food preparation education so that they are workforce ready to find a job in the food service industry.
Whoa.
Because when you're leaving the juvenile system, you have very limited opportunities to find positions. And I'm sure anytime you've ever filled out a job application, they ask if you've ever been arrested or, and whatever your answer is, that might determine whether you even get a call back or get an interview.
Yeah.
But having some life skills that you can translate into the food service industry, which is always needing of qualified hands and candidates, it's important that you know how to do food preparation, food service, food safety.
Right.
So we provide that education and provide them a certification at the end so that they are ready to go into that industry.
God, there's so much you do.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, I have a huge team that works
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah,
And
that's-
so
well,
I don't want to
yeah.
take credit
Yeah,
for
I
any
know.
of it. I just want to amplify the work that they do.
Facilitate.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to touch bases on? We've been talking. There's a lot of things we
Yeah.
want, but yeah, I know you're so big and everything. And there's so many.
And
duties.
we're in every county. So whether you're from the San Joaquin Valley or not,
Yeah.
we have a cooperative extension office in every single county. You can Google search us and you will be directed to the office that you're looking for in whichever county you're in.
Right.
And they would be able to provide you those same services. So
Yeah.
it is not that we are the best kept secret in the valley. We are statewide. And if there's ever a question you have and you're from another county and you want to call my office, we will put you in touch with the right person. I just want everyone to know there's opportunities out there. If there's questions, we are here to answer them.
Right.
And it's free of service. So a lot of farmers that I meet with, they pay consultants hundreds of dollars an hour to come do the same work we do for nothing. You know?
Really?
And it's important that they know that we're here to provide that support. And the folks that specialize in this work have years and years of education and research under their belt
Yeah.
meant to answer those questions and provide that support. So I totally just want to amplify the message of what Cooperative Extension does, what UCANR does, and really underscore the importance of supporting our ag community in any and every way that we can, especially in a rural community like we live in here.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I learned a ton.
Well, I'm
And
glad.
I never knew about all this. I mean, well, I knew about it, but I mean, I didn't knew that there was somebody like yourself that facilitates, and can help people like that, and that's a big thing.
We're here, and I'm happy to educate you, or one more person. And to me, that's, I think, the most important thing, is because when I first started working at UCANR, I thought, well, I already know what we do here. I did not know it was the best kept secret.
Yeah.
But that's only if you're involved. And
Yeah.
I don't want us to be something that folks don't know about. I want to be a resource and accessible, and whatever I can do to amplify that, I'm happy to do it.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we'll end right there, and
Okay.
and I'll list all your information and everything.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye bye.